Hello, fellow Vintarians. Oscillascape is in the house, transmitting good vibes on all the frequencies. Welcome to Vintage Voices, a series where I interview various members of the vintage story community. I had the pleasure of sitting down with the one and only Tyron, the creator of Vintage Story. This is his second appearance on the show. If you'd like to hear our first conversation, the episode is on my channel and has a lot of his personal backstory. In this interview, we start where we left off. We covered the past year's incredible milestones, multiple updates, major streamers showcasing the game, and a huge influx of new players. We also discuss upcoming features, the collapse of Hytale, and Tyron's new adventure mode project. For transparency, my interviews are edited to keep the flow smooth and to pack in as much information as possible in the shortest amount of time. Regardless, this episode is another must-listen for any vintage story fan that wants to know where the game is headed. So without further ado, let's welcome Tyron to Vintage Voices for the second time. So, hello Tyron, welcome back to Vintage Voices. Last time we spoke, version 1.20 stable was still a couple months away. Since then, you released 1.20, patched it numerous times, pivoted towards 1.21, and eventually launched 1.21 stable. So, with that in mind, how are you feeling about the current state of Vintage Story and this past year?
Oh, just fine. I think we're progressing at a good pace. Of course, there's always many bugs to fix, but it's to be expected in a game this complex.
I know that you would have preferred to release 1.22 a little sooner, because originally I think 1.22 was intended to be a 1.21. So do you feel a little sad that you have to kind of polish 1.20 instead of just jumping straight into new content?
I always would like to release sooner, but it just doesn't happen. Again, part of the development process. We work on the things that are most important to work on. In this case, it was bug fixing and polishing.
Yeah, it seemed like the 1.20 had a ton of mini updates and feel like there was a lot of bugs to squash. Is that generally true? Do you feel like 1.20 was kind of a challenging patch to get right?
Not more than usual, but there was quite some content that we couldn't finish in time.
Gotcha. Do you think 1.21 is going to be a little easier in terms of patching?
It is the sort of the bug fix patch to 1.20, so...
1.21-1 just came out. Is the second one, 1.1.2, coming out soon? Should I be updating or not?
Yeah, it will come out soon. The reason we're releasing it primarily is because we discovered quite some heavy lag on tops, where near spawn players placed thousands of signs and crates and barrels. And at a point when there are so many new performance bottlenecks appear, and those we're fixing.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is the addition of the two new mobs. Of course, the Shiver and the Boathorn. They had a pretty significant effect on the game because honestly, they make the game quite a bit more challenging. With that in mind, how do you feel about the difficulty that they add to the game?
I think it's completely in line with our premise of being an uncompromising survival sandbox experience. Do they really make it that more difficult? I mean, we kind of reduce drifters, therefore.
Yeah, I feel like obviously you have a ranged mob now, and they tend to obviously run away, and they also hide in the shrubs and the trees, so they can snipe you from the darkness or from far away. And then obviously the Shivers, they absolutely like corner you and then chase you. Even if you run away, they can still chase you quite rapidly. And
yeah, that is true.
So what do you say to the arachnophobes? Do you want to apologize for introducing the Shiver in the game?
I'm afraid you will need to find a mod for it, and bet there is already several for it that disables the Shiver specifically.
Was that ever like a consideration at all? I'd be like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do this. It's too like scary, or you just like whatever. Like we wanted to put this in the game. It's happening.
If it's a big enough of a complaint, we will be looking into it. So far, I haven't heard a major complaint about that.
So now that we have a ranged enemy, is there any plans to remove rock tossing from the core drifter ability? Are they still going to toss rocks at us?
I did reduce the frequency, I think, already, or at least I reduced their accuracy. I don't think I would entirely remove it because there's a way to prevent players from just pillaring up and then shooting from a distance.
No, that makes sense. I do think they toss a little less now. You're right. Of course, pillaring now is harder because, again, you'll probably be sniped by a Boathorn from the bushes. So, but
if one is around.
Hey, there seems to be always around, That's my general feeling.
Okay.
So are you planning to add even more variety to the core pool?
I think quite definitely, but we have nothing planned right now.
Okay, that was my next question. Is like, do you have a concept for the next mob yet?
We have some ideas, but we don't have a roadmap for them when we're going to add them.
Okay, that makes sense. I'll ask some general questions about mob variety, and your take on introducing new enemies. What should we call them? Because, normally I would call them drifters, right? And now that we have Boltorn and Shivers, are they just like eldritch enemies? Like just enemies, just mobs? What should we call them?
I don't know. Secret. I can't answer that. We don't really have a name for them as a whole. We just mention them by name usually. Yeah.
I wonder what do you call them? What do you call them in the studio?
Okay. I guess we call them monster, if anything. Monsters or mobs.
Is there going to be maybe another faction of enemies?
But there's going to be quite different types of enemies that would not fit together with those three that we have right now. There will be, yes, at some point.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. Yeah, it would be interesting to have maybe another faction, and maybe all three of them will interact in some way. Is there any particular reason why drifters don't interact with animals? Is that lore specific?
Great question. We might need to ask Luke about it. I don't know, actually.
Okay, yeah, just curious. I thought it would be kind of cool if if like a bear was fighting, a double-headed drifter. That would be an interesting match. I think double-headed drifter would win.
Probably would end up with a lot of corpses on the surface, which might be a balancing issue. Yeah.
So let's say that you add a new faction. Do you think we might have like our more magical faction, something that's less mechanical?
No, unlikely.
So there's always going to be some kind of mechanical theme going with them?
Mechanical, or I can't reveal it yet. Sorry. But not mechanical or not magical, that I can tell.
Okay, that's fine. What about seeing like flying or swimming enemies at any point outside of bosses?
I'd love that. Yes, I would love that. But again, no concrete plans at this point.
So you'll have those flying things that spawn if you don't sleep enough. Maybe that will force people to actually go to bed?
No, I hate that. I hate that feature in Minecraft. I think it's the worst ever. Rather the opposite. If you go to bed, they wake you up.
Okay, gotcha. So who was the primary designer behind the two new mobs in terms of like aesthetics? Was it Cerity this time around? Was it a team effort?
It was a group effort. It was a team effort from the art team. Generally, I think it was Luke, our concept artist, and then the other three artists.
I know that for drifters, you mentioned the inspiration was Silent Hill. Is there inspiration for Shivers and Boltorns in terms of like media or movies, TV?
Yeah, that's the one question I can't answer because I was not involved in the creation of these. I will need to ask the art team about it.
Did you and Saturday ever watch Stranger Things, that Netflix exclusive sci-fi series? I swear that when I see the Shiver, like I see Dog Monster in the TV series, and I swear to God, the higher tier Shivers look exactly like the dogs from the TV series.
I see. No, never watched it.
Okay, gotcha. There was a bug in 1.20 where you had Boltorn firing squads kind of stay after the storms. Did you finally fix this?
yeah, it was fixed. That was funny, yeah.
So what was the bug? Why did they remain on the surface for so long?
Yeah, I can explain it to you. So, like a heavy temporal storm starts, it replaced the surface shiver with a more difficult version of the shiver, and there was a cap, a maximum amount of enemies at any given time could spawn, right? The code that calculated the maximum amount only considered the surface shivers, but since the surface shiver was changed into a difficult shiver, it spawned another one. But then again, that was again turned into a difficult shiver. It upped the strength of the monster, but it kept spawning new ones because it didn't find the easy ones.
It definitely made for a lot of fun memes and posts on Reddit. I saw a lot of people posting. Yeah, so I have some video footage of it happening to me as well, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So kind of a weird question. You might not have an answer to this. So I feel like the spawning frequency in caves has been changed in 1.20. Like I've seen some caves that are like extremely spicy. Like you go in there and the spawning seems out of control. Did you change anything about cave spawning in 1.20?
The spawning in general? Well, we have replaced Rifter spawn with Boltorn and Shivers. But the overall total amount, I think, should be the same. And at some point, yeah, it was kind of much. And then we also reduced it further. I think that's what I remember, but not increase.
Yeah, I noticed specifically in deep caves, quite big increase in mob activity. But again, maybe this is just anecdotal. I don't know if it's true or not. And yeah, you just mentioned you tweaked the mob spawning a bit in 1.21, right? So what was the impetus for that?
Unfortunately, I don't remember anymore. But if you give me a few minutes, I can maybe look it up still.
It's okay if you don't remember. And I was just curious if there was a specific change that you wanted to address. Kind of goes with the previous question to see like, hey, I changed the spawning because the caves were out of control or there were just too many mobs. So I wanted to reduce the spawning frequency. But sounds like it wasn't that big of a deal. You just kind of slightly adjusted some numbers.
Yeah, regularly do this. I just stick a few numbers sometimes when I feel like out of place.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move to some other topics. So in 1.20, you brought two major additions in transportation, and that's the boat and the elk, both of which were pretty long overdue, I felt, because, obviously we had nothing before this. And one common criticism that I see is that the boat speed is very slow. It's not really any faster than the raft, and many players end up tweaking it manually in the JSON file. Why is the speed so slow? Is it intended maybe for a future state when the wind patterns are tweaked or some wind feature comes around?
Is it really? I thought we tweaked it in a way that it can still a significant upgrade to the raft. Let me actually look at the numbers real quick.
I think originally it was the same speed as the raft, and maybe in 1.21 you changed it to be faster, but it was the same speed. I guess the only advantage is that you could put a chest on it, and also multiple players could go on a boat.
Yes, and also now with 121, you don't have to hold forwards all the time on the sailboat, so that's also a big advantage. And it should be 20% faster, actually, the sailboats compared to the raft in 121.
Okay. I think I'll still probably adjust it manually myself when I play. I feel like it should be at least like twice as fast for the sail. I mean, depending on wind patterns, I guess.
Right. Well, yeah, sure.
There was a mod called Joy of Sailing before you had the boats. They removed their own variants, and depending on the wind, could go quite a bit faster. So I think maybe there should be some interaction between the wind speed and the boats. Currently, there is not, right?
Yeah, correct.
So is there any plans to add intermediate sailing options like kayaks or maybe rafts with sails? Because currently the boat takes a lot of resources to build.
There's a kayak in the making. I think we have the model ready, but it's a bit stuck because we don't want it to be just like taking a single inventory slot. Maybe we were hoping maybe we could have it in a way that you need both hands to carry it or something like that. So it's in limbo right now.
Okay, so you want it to be a little bit different than a raft.
Yeah.
All right, so now I want to ask you about the taming system for wild elk. Before the taming system, you could acquire the elk in the Resonance archives, I guess spoiler. But now you can also tame the elk via the taming system. However, I have seen people say that it's very impractical. First of all, you have to find the elk, which can be extremely challenging to find. And you have to find the baby elk, I believe, so you can transport them. And then, you have to go through like month-long taming system. It just seems like it's easier to go to the Resonance archives and get the elk from there. Is that intentional?
Yes.
What do you expect the players to do? Do you expect them to go to the dungeon or tame the elk? I guess if you removed the dungeon location for the elk, it would make sense. But if there's an easier way to do it, like why do you think the player would go through the taming?
It's just provide an option if they do not wish to explore the lore. It's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be easy, for sure.
So basically, if they don't want to do any lore stuff, they can go ahead and do the taming. Yeah, I suppose some players choose not to engage with endgame content or WoW or at all.
Yeah. Well, also the Homo sapiens mode doesn't even spawn the Resonance archive, so that it would have been impossible to obtain the elk.
Oh yeah, Homo sapiens mode. Yeah, I guess I don't normally think about that even exists, right? Is that something anybody in a studio likes to play?
Not in our team, no. But I know there's a number of players that prefer that over the lore content mode.
So it's basically intentional that the elk access in a dungeon is easier than taming.
Really, is that easier? More difficult in different way because the elk, if you tame it, more time consuming. The other one, maybe bigger challenge to survive, I'd imagine.
Probably to a new player, it's probably going to be similar or equally as hard because they never done the story dungeon. But to me, right now, if I was doing a speed run, I would probably just, get the pickaxe, give it to the trader, and then I would just literally sprint to the archives and sprint past the bell, grab the medallion, run out of the dungeon, like not kill anything else, like basically naked. That's probably what I do.
You have to kill the boss in order to get the elk, though.
I don't think so. You can get the medallion from the Bell Workshop, right?
Medallion doesn't help you. You will not get the elk from the trader through that. You have to talk to the resonator in the library in order to unlock the elk.
Okay, well, there you go. Then I'm wrong. Then yes, then I can see that being also very hard because you have to kill the boss. Yeah, for some reason I thought you just have to sprint past the bell and grab the medallion. Okay, that makes sense. So what's the intention behind the mounts? Is it designed to be more of a late game travel option? Because they come in so late into the game progression.
Well, we set out with the goal that 121 is going to be about journeying, where the player visits for those 4 grand story locations, and we wanted to provide the player with an option to fast travel. That's why we added the sailboat and the elk.
And that's more designed when they decide to do large-scale journeys, right? Early in the game, you expect them to just explore on foot and maybe use the teleporters, right?
Yeah, it's more late game.
Okay. Is there any additional features to the mounting system that you would want to have, and it's still not in the game? You're still maybe working through some of the ideas or features?
I'd love to have thousands of things. It would be great if we could form a personal relationship with your elk. Maybe there was some kind of friendship meter or something that you could feed the elk. And you could name it. We should be able to name the elk.
Okay, that makes sense. Makes me think of Dragon Age Origins. You having relationships with your party members. So maybe you can romance the elk.
No, not romance.
The next question came from a Redditor, from a Reddit. He suggested maybe you can talk to NPC like a trader and say, hey, I have this parcel. Can you deliver it to this location in the map, right? For like large scale transportation.
Yes, we would love to have that as well. Talking also for a while about it, that you could maybe even ask a trader to bring home some of the loot you collected for a price.
Exactly that idea. So maybe in the future you'll implement something like that. That's good to know. Yeah, that would be super helpful.
You can do it indirectly right now. You can put it up in the auction house and then travel to another trader and buy it there. It works in single player too.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's good to know. Maybe I'll use that tip next time. I guess that's a way to do it. Yeah, that's cool. I'm going to switch to asking you about the story. I'm trying to be spoiler free. So for people that are listening, don't worry. This shouldn't spoil anything. Obviously 1.20 came out. There was quite a bit of feedback saying that it felt unpolished. The end game content was not in a good state. There were some issues with some of the locations. So now that you released 1.21, do you feel like the second chapter is in a good place now?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, there's going to be a few fixes with the villagers. There's quite a few issues, but the rest is pretty good, I think.
Okay, so they bug out in some way?
I think some disappeared and some died, and then they're no longer interactable and stuff like that. Just happened to watch Ashanti's latest video, so you can see all about it there.
Okay, interesting. I would feel like the villagers would have the same system as the traders, like if you kill them, they just respawn. Is that not true?
Yeah, it's supposed to, but I think something's not quite right there.
Okay. So what lessons did you learn from deploying the second chapter?
The one thing we want to do differently is not add 4 locations, but 1 in the future again. So we can put more focus on one location and make it better and more playable from the get-go. I think there was too many locations.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it was quite a big patch and quite a few locations. You're right. So with that in mind, I guess the next story event or next story location probably going to be a singular location this time, right?
Yeah, or thematically very similar location. So we don't have to make 4 vastly different things.
So did you find anything surprising about player feedback?
If anything, the lack of it. We got a lot more feedback from the Resonance archives than we did for the second story chapter.
So you expected people to talk about it more on the socials, Reddits and Discords, and you felt like people weren't really talking about the locations as much as you thought they would?
Yeah, but maybe that's because it was too far away, too much to travel. I don't know.
I'm glad you agree. And I think you reduced the distance in the new patch, right?
We reduced the distance and we made the terrain a lot more traversable.
So did you reduce the distance internally, or did you just adjust the default slider for scaling?
That was internally, not the sliders. No, the sliders are still at the default.
The slider adjustment is relative to the new default value.
Yes.
I will say in my most recent playthrough, I set the slider to 15% or whatever the minimum is, and I could see one of the locations. You probably know which one. Yeah, I could see the bubble from far away, so it was pretty close.
Yeah, right. That one's also visible from pretty far away.
Yeah, just interesting that, you could definitely compress the locations quite close to each other with the slider. I think my problem is a lot of these default settings are not known to the new players. They might not know to implement those. And so I think you did the right thing by adjusting the distance. Did you hear or see any suggestions that you end up implementing that players suggested for the adjustments to the locations?
No, we've made them not so far apart. What else? They said that the elk taming is missing, so we added that. The boss fight was too difficult, I think, and so we made a lot of changes there. And jump quest, that was also too difficult. We also made that easier multiple times. All that, yeah.
And that came from player suggestions? So did you already know internally what the feedback is going to be?
I think it was more player feedback than internal.
All right, that's good to know. So my next question, you kind of already answered, but I'll ask it in a different way. So do you think you should have delayed the second chapter to let it cook more?
No, I don't want that. I want the release to be in a fixed interval. And once it goes beyond a certain amount of months, I would just like to ship it, even if it's not in a good state at that point.
Gotcha. So no regrets about releasing 1.20. You just, it was the right time for it to come out.
It was necessary. Yes, it had to be released. Otherwise, you were just tinkering on it forever. If you let it cook longer, then more often than not, we end up adding more features to it. And then those need to be fixed as well again afterwards. So it's a challenge.
Yeah, that makes sense. So can we expect the third chapter in 1.23? I'm assuming 1.22 is not going to have anything, but is 1.23 going to be the next chapter perhaps?
That was the original goal, but right now, since the last couple of days, we're not so sure anymore if maybe we do another non-lore update, 1.2.3, and delay the lore updates with another version later. We'll see.
Okay, that makes sense. How many locations do you think that will encompass? Sounds like perhaps just a single location, right?
It will be a single location per update. Story Chapter 3 is going to be several locations, but we will ship one location.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's a good answer. So now shifting away from the features, and this is more a philosophical question. So why is the game so heavily focused on the story? Knowing this is a sandbox game, I guess Minecraft is not really a story game. There's hardly any story at all. Like, why are you so set on having story and having so much of it?
Principally, it was merely a decision I made when I started developing Winter Story. But the reason why, I think I feel it just adds depth to the game and gives you a reason to live in there. You have something left to discover still. So if it's just sandbox, it feels like you don't have as much purpose in the world. And then why would I build an elaborate house? That's all there is to it. But if there's something left at the horizon that you can look forward to, that I think gives purpose.
Is it inspired by any other survival games?
No.
Are you a fan of any other survival games at all? Do you play anything besides Vintage Story, I guess, at this point?
For a while, we played The Long Dark and Don't Starve. Those are two very nice survival games. Yeah, and there's one more. Darkwood. That was really good. Darkwood is great. Darkwood is so good. It's very unique.
Maybe I should check them out. I'm a big fan of survival, so I'll definitely check the games that you recommended. So my next question, again, relates to the sandbox nature of the game. So how do you balance the player freedom in a sandbox with a structured linear story like you have in the game right now?
How we do it currently, I think you're free to completely ignore the story if you want to. You will be not locked out of endgame content. But if you engage with the story, you get to learn about the world and you get a bunch of extra gadgets.
I guess the reward is going to be the gadgets, and you intend those gadgets to be locked behind story progression.
Yes, like the glider.
Would you ever consider unclaiming, quote unquote, these locations so we can actually loot them or destroy them at some point?
Zarati would be very strongly against that. Our lore location is not designed to be taken apart.
Would you ever consider maybe adding it as a single player option for players to do, like a box you can check in the settings?
If anything, then it's only via command. That would just break a lot of things. I don't even know what would happen if the item drops or not, or if the game's gonna crash if you take everything apart. Really not designed for it.
Okay, fair enough. So it sounds like it might be complicated to unclaim these locations. Would you consider adding some of the decorative trinkets into the dungeons themselves, maybe in the chests, or some way, or maybe recipes to acquire?
A few of them are, but we have not prioritized the other. I think it's quite okay if some blocks are just not acquirable. I think that's just okay.
Okay, so you don't have any grand plans to let players have a lot of these blocks. Basically, these are dungeon exclusive. They were built for them, and so they'll stay in there.
Yeah, no.
Okay, fair enough. Another philosophical question. So considering only a fraction of players ever killed the dragon in Minecraft, I think it's like 1% of all players killed the dragon, something like that. Are you worried that your efforts in Vintage Story might go unappreciated, like your heavy efforts into designing endgame dungeons?
No, I'm not worried. It's okay if not many players experience it. We want to experience it.
Even if only a fraction of players get to these locations, you feel it's important to have and you want to focus on those, right?
Yeah, and I think they add a lot to the game, whether you explore them or not.
Okay, fair enough. I feel like one of the criticisms that I've heard, some players feel like you're prioritizing endgame dungeons and story locations over like sandboxy survival features of the game, like in favor of the story. Do you feel that's true?
If we make a lore update, then we obviously prioritize the lore over game mechanics. If we make a game mechanics update, we prioritize game mechanics over lore. Sometimes, yes, we prioritize one over the other. It's just natural.
Would you feel you would get more done if you weren't doing story? Like if you just focused on game mechanics, would your output be a lot higher? I feel like at some point you said that you don't think that would be the case. Somebody else develops the story stuff and it doesn't take a lot of your bandwidth.
Quite certainly, we would be building more game mechanics if we had less lore. I'm always actually very involved when we do a lore update. Both of them, I wrote quite a lot of code, actually.
Okay, so I guess there's some partial truth to that, but you feel that's important, it adds a lot to the game, and it's here to stay.
Oh, yeah, certainly. That being said, we hope that 122 is going to add a lot of game mechanics.
We're done with the story. So a couple of questions about WorldGen and terrain generation. I think that's a hotly debated topic in the community. You changed the terrain generation a little in 1.21. What was the primary goal for these changes? What were we trying to achieve?
To make the world more traversable so that it's easier for players to visit those new lore locations.
So basically flatter, less mountains, less woods, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, essentially.
So how do you perform world generation testing? So let's say you change something about the generation. Do you have some kind of tool that aggregates the changes so you can see like at a glance what it does? Or do you just like boot up a world and another one and see how the things look?
Literally, that's just a lot of trial and error. But we have a few tools that we can generate a landform, an area in isolation, and see how it looks, how traversable it is. And we just look up how common it is, and we might make it less common or we make it less hilly. It's just a lot of trial and error.
Are you familiar with the chunk base? It's a site that allows you to see like Minecraft seeds. Do you think something like that is possible for Vintage Story? Like a website or some kind of tool that allows you to quickly load a seed with the settings and see what the map of that world might look like?
Definitely possible, but probably a lot of work.
Fair enough. I think one of the criticisms that I have for the game right now is that how hard it is to generate worlds. You know, like I said, it literally just takes a lot of trial and error. And it would be nice if you could like quickly iterate and see like, oh yeah, I like this. This looks good, but there's nothing like that.
Sure would be nice, yeah.
There might be a tool that you build or players build, but it's not something you will prioritize because it's a lot of bandwidth, a lot of work, right?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. My next question about terrain is about the rivers mod. So in my latest video playthrough, I played with the rivers mod. I managed to actually make it generate rivers, which I hear is not an easy task. You have to do the settings very, very correctly to achieve that. So please tell me that the rivers are coming soon.
We will spend some time on it for the next update. If it's feasible, it will be included. If it turns out it will not be feasible, maybe in another update. But we will try. We will try something.
It's a feature that's listed on the roadmap, so it is something you will eventually implement, right?
Most likely, yeah.
Have you personally tried playing with the Rivers mod or some river generation in the game?
I don't remember. I think I tried once a couple of years ago. But I mean, I've seen screenshots of it too.
From all the mods that I added to the game, I was very impressed. It added so much emergent gameplay to the game, like using the rivers for transportation, dealing with the flows, and just the variety it added to the terrain generation was very nice. So I think it's you guys should definitely prioritize that. That's my pitch.
Right. Okay.
What do you like or not like about the way that the rivers are implemented in those mods versus how maybe you would do it?
The fact that they carve through mountains is a bit of an issue. They shouldn't do that. I think if it were a vanilla feature.
I mean, isn't it like how it happens in a real game? You have canyons and you have gigantic ravines that the rivers cut over time?
Yes, but not just simply carve a straight line through a mountain like a tunnel, like a boring machine.
Okay, gotcha. So it's just like the way it bisects the mountains or large scale things in the game. You want it to be more natural. There'd be maybe more tapering on the edges, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have some roadmap questions. The first one is, you mentioned implementing regions of distinct flora and fauna. Does that mean simply just unique biomes?
So what we would like to have is when we add new crops, for example, we would like to have at some point a separation. For example, all the crops from the Americas would be in one distinct region, and all European crops would be another distinct region, and all Asian crops would be another distinct region. And not that they're all mixed. Not that pineapple grow side by side with rice.
Struggling to understand what would that look like, because right now plants and trees change with latitude, right? The more north you go, the more north stuff you see. The more south you go, the more south stuff you see. So I guess you want to be more distinct separation between those.
You could compare it to continents in real life. Imagine 1,000 years ago, there were no potatoes in Europe. There were potatoes and corn and pineapple in Americas, right? So they had their own set of crops. That's what we would like to achieve. A bit more similar to the rock strata. You don't have limestone everywhere. You only have a distinct area of limestone.
So would there ever be maybe like large geological features like volcanoes, geysers, or like arches, something that happens over time?
No concrete plans right now for that. It would be great to have, yeah. I'd love that.
Would you ever have like natural disasters or something like some natural variability besides seasons, like, eruptions, earthquakes, tornadoes, nor'easters, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it would be awesome, but I probably then limit it to the wilderness survival mode.
Oh, why is that? And why wouldn't that be in the regular game?
I would prefer to not have anything that would alter blocks or destroy player builds. There's this unwritten rule, we don't break player builds in the standard survival. It's just, we don't do that.
But what about all the screenshots I see of people's buildings burned to the ground? There's a lot of those on Reddit. If this is an uncompromising survival experience, come on.
Well, that is their fault. They burned it down, not us. But if you have a volcano erupting in front of you, this is unavoidable,
All right, interesting distinction. I guess like God events versus something you caused yourself. Got it. Okay. So you added crickets, in the last update or previous update. I don't know which one exactly. And I do feel like it added a ton of ambience to the game. And you mentioned other insects or other critters. Do you have any idea what's coming next?
No, unfortunately not. I'm looking for suggestions, actually. Ideally, it would be some kind of insects that also make a noise.
Maybe people will suggest something in the comments. I feel like if I see anything, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if the comments suggest a critter.
Something that would be easy.
So I did feel like somebody suggested fireflies in the game, and I swear to God, there's already fireflies in the game. Is that true?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there should be. They all spawn in summer, I think, in warm summer nights or something like that. But once every few updates, they break and no longer spawn, so maybe that's the case.
Cool. So my next question is about other terrain features. So is there any other terrain features or WorldGen features that are possible in the future, but not on a roadmap? Something you want to change about the generation or the way this works?
A few fairly technical changes that would increase the variety of terrain. That's what I would like to add. Yeah, they would make the terrain more diverse and less repetitive.
Awesome. So my next question is about the emptiness of the world. So now that the story is forcing you to travel a lot, do you personally think that the world is a bit empty in terms of points of interest?
I don't think so, no. I think it's nicely decorated. Maybe too repetitive, I guess, if anything.
Common suggestions is, I think, dungeons, mine shafts, stuff to explore and stuff to loot. Is that coming, or do you want the world to be semi-empty like it is right now because it's old and rebuilding?
Dynamic dungeons is one of the things you would like to add for the next major update.
You think that should spice up the points of interest a little bit?
I hope so.
I think Elvis mentioned that you might have like unique points of interest that are not dungeons. Maybe like, you might have a cool waterfall, maybe like a cool geological feature. Do you think that's something that's going to happen?
Sounds cool if you can find a way to achieve it.
So why don't you add more interesting runes and dungeons? Is that because maybe you're a little afraid that these locations might overshadow the story locations?
I think it would tell the wrong story. Also, you basically give the players a free base to build in. I think it would take away from the survival experience as well. I think it would be the wrong setting for what you want to build, having large-scale ruins.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I largely agree with you, so that's good to know. This is like an odd question. This is just mostly for me and other tech players. Would you ever consider like player-driven terraforming features? Maybe like a world eater type of thing that you can build? Maybe like some super advanced Jonas tech?
There is one little thing I would like to add at some point. If we get a railway system going where people can build long railway connections between bases, maybe some kind of tool that lets you tunnel dig faster to encourage people building railway networks.
Maybe I should connect you with Elon and his boring company. We talked about WorldGen. Now I want to talk about some other WorldGen features. One of the things that I hear complaints about is the rock strata distribution, how rock strata generates in the game. I think there's a typical experience of finding granite shelves that stretch for thousands of blocks in every direction. And I personally ran into it myself. So since so many rocks are needed for progression and you're gated by availability of these rocks, it can be pretty frustrating. Do you have any thoughts about modifying the distribution of rock strata to prevent quote unquote granite hell from happening?
I actually asked Sarti about this and she said, no, absolutely not. So I think that will stay.
Okay, people, you heard it here. Granite hell is here to stay. So just get those elks and travel, however long you need to find more rocks. Do you think it's a problem, or do you think people just need to like man up and travel further away from their bases?
The only problem I heard is that you often have troubles finding limestone and salt, but other than that, not really.
So do you think the rock strata has anything to do with the pole to equator distance slider? Anecdotally, I noticed the rock strata distribution be much more diverse with lower settings pole to pole.
No, they don't relate it. Or some connection that I'm not aware about, but not to my knowledge.
So speaking of pole to equator distance, why is it so high by default? So 100K seems like a very large number. And I think you're like almost intentionally hiding southern biomes from people, and you're kind of forcing people to play in the temperate zones more by default.
Generally, I mean, as you already might have learned, things are hard to find or have a great distance. It's just intentional. If you want to find something unique, then you have to travel far. If you want to see that content earlier, you can just spawn in there with changing the world settings. And also, the hot climate zones are lacking content to be a good wilderness survival experience at this point. So it needs more hostile animals.
Aren't you adding alligators in one of your patches soon, right?
We presented them. Yeah, we need to find another animator. Currently, animation is a bit of a bottleneck.
So you mentioned spawning in one of the hotter climates. Do you think maybe like a preset selector would help with that? Because I do feel like right now settings are not very intuitive, and it can be kind of hard to achieve what you want in terms of world generation.
Never crossed my mind. I don't know.
I think that would add a lot to the game, because I think right now you would have to be pretty knowledgeable about the way the settings modify the terrain. A lot of them are not very intuitive. They're also not really described very well in the menu. So it can be a lot of trial and error.
Sounds like a first easy step would be to describe them better, but I would need to know feedback which one feel insufficiently described.
Okay, fair enough. I would definitely say the scale ones, like landmass scale, whatever, like, you can set like 500%. Like, I have no idea what that does.
It's written in the tooltip. That's not intuitive, yeah?
It's not super intuitive. Somebody did a generation test recently on Reddit where they posted their like landform generation. They like changed the settings 30 times and posted the picture of the starting range. And I was like, okay, now I can visually understand what that means.
Visually. Okay.
Would you ever consider simplifying these settings? Maybe there will be just like easier to understand sliders, maybe less of them, so people can get the results that they want instead of giving people such fine control.
Maybe sometime in the future, but no plans at the moment.
So let's talk about other game features. I feel like a lot of community questions kind of fall into this category. Obviously, people want to know what's coming next, what's the updates are going to be like. So you have a roadmap. So how do you prioritize what to pick to develop on the roadmap?
We listen to the team, what they would like, and what players complain the most about, and then we see what looks most feasible, and from that we build a list.
So now specific features, apparently there will be another tier of metal above steel, right? Titanium. When do you think that might come into the game? And will that be the final tier of metal, or do you think there would be something above titanium?
Actually, titanium, I don't think it was meant as a next tier. I haven't really thought about it all that much, so I can't give you a good answer. I'm not sure if it's going to be even titanium. In real life, there is nothing upgrade to steel either. There's maybe one idea that you could have specialized steel for certain tools, maybe that, but other than that, we'll see.
Yeah, but you don't have strictly a physical world, right? It's almost like a magical world as well. You have all these eldritch horrors and this super weird technology. So I think you can probably veer away from realism a little bit here.
Yeah, we can if you wanted to, yes, for sure.
So the next roadmap question I have is about expanded debuff system as one of the goals. Can you elaborate what expanded debuff system actually implies?
It's called comprehensive status effect system, which is a bit more descriptive. We would like to implement status effects. Maybe players will be able to be poisoned or have a broken bone that you have to treat specially, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought it meant. Like, maybe bleeding, poison, broken limbs. Okay, that's cool.
But also positive effects, of course.
In my most recent playthrough, I used Animal Cage's mod to capture NPCs, mostly traders, to move them to my village. And, I would build them houses, I gave them beds, so I treated them nicely, okay? Do you think there ever would be an invite system for NPCs to invite them to your village to live with you, or maybe some other NPCs to expand your outpost or make a village together?
Not planned for in this story, no. You can move to a trader will not move to you.
Fair enough. So no NPCs, at least not yet. So next question is about basic gadgets. So I feel like we're still lacking some basic gadgets. Something that comes to mind is a compass or a clock. Obviously, currently these things are baked into the UI.
It would make a lot of sense that these UI things are actually in World. 1.1 wanted to start on it. We had some models on it for it already, but haven't progressed on that.
Okay, so my next question again about gadgets. Will there be gadgets for more technical players, specifically blocks that move or grab other blocks like pistons, pulleys, elevators? Do you think that ever has a future in Vintage Story?
I'm not opposed to it now. Well, we hope to give the mechanical power system some upgrades for the next major update. So hopefully we get a few things there.
That's good to know. You obviously have a very distinct vision for the game, so I don't know what your final state looks like. And you've been very determined to remove people's ability to easily automate or farm things. So I feel like that stuff will fall into the automation bucket, and you seem to be kind of against that in some way. So there was the famous hot spring farm for the drifters, and you made sure that drifters, if they get killed by natural causes, don't drop anything anymore or drop significantly less. The hot spring design was pretty cool and took massive amounts of material, so it wasn't easy to put together, I will say that.
Yeah, for sure. It was quite an effort. Yeah, quite impressive build that they made. Usually it's automated because of a bug or an unintended side effect, not because of an intentional game mechanic.
Okay, so have you finally hired the sound designer that we spoke of in the last interview?
Yes, we have a sound designer now.
Yeah, I was going to ask what he or she is working on primarily right now.
We tried forever on getting several voices reworked, but I think we have to put this on ice again. We just cannot come to a good conclusion on that. He started working on footstep sounds, which require implementation from the programmers. Also is doing inventory, picking up and dropping of sounds. And lately, he also has been adding some variety to the wolf howls.
So why is it so hard to get the seraph voices right? Is that because nobody can agree on sort of the final aesthetic of the sound?
Not nobody, me specifically. Nothing felt right so far that I heard. And that's not the sound designer's fault.
Right, so he brings you suggestions, and so far nothing struck you fancy, right?
Not only the suggestions, but also references or anything that I have tried, everything that other people have tried. It doesn't feel quite right to me.
My next question about sound again. So can he make a pass at various sound effects in the game? I feel like they're pretty unbalanced in terms of volume right now. I feel like certain sounds are so much louder than other sounds.
You would need to see a report or a video, demonstration video, exactly what you're looking at there, because we don't notice that.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious if you thought that or not. There's certain sounds that I tend to immediately adjust down with accessibility tweaks, which is the mod that lets you adjust individual game sounds, bear noises, drifter moans. I think some of the environmental stuff like wind and water can be extremely loud.
So the attack sounds are purposely loud. They should remain at that level. The water, then the weather environment have their own sliders in game.
Fair enough. Just wanted to get your take on this. All right, so my next question is about the Beehive Kiln. It was an awesome addition to the game that allows you to mass produce clay items. Will other tedious processes get similar treatment, like having an alternate to the bloomery spam, or maybe cooking large quantities of food instead of just using one pot at a time?
We would love to add that, yes. Permanent upgrade, and you can benefit for it for a long time. Maybe we can get one or two of these mechanics into the next major update as well.
So the roadmap mentions herbalism as one of the ideas. What's the difference between alchemy and herbalism? Are we talking about beneficial status effects like potions, or is this something else?
Herbalism is more about growing the herbs and propagating them, maybe drying them, making teas of them, that kind of stuff.
Are there going to be any benefits to making teas? Like why we're making them?
Good question. I don't know yet. That remains to be answered. But I would love that players can plant and grow herbs. That sounds really, really nice.
Have you thought about maybe a status effect addition to the game, maybe potions?
Yeah, maybe. Well, first of all, we need the status effect system, I guess, before we can even think of that.
Would you ever consider giving different foods status effects? Because currently I feel like there's not a whole lot of reason to make various foods.
Yes, I would like that. Kind of well-fed or savory status effect. Would be nice.
That's good. Yeah. Because currently, as a min-max player, I'm just I'm going to exist on a grain, like rice or spelt, you pick it. And then there's no reason to do anything else.
Yeah. Totally. Fully agree.
Okay. So the roadmap mentions more challenging wildlife. Can you elaborate? Would that mean more aggression from the neutral animals, or are you just going to introduce more threats to the world?
Not necessarily, but I would love if you could improve their AI, that you really have to hunt animals, not just run after them till they fall into a hole or into a lake, but that you have to use more clever ways to trap them and to catch them.
Yeah, I think there was just a new mod that came out that I saw was blood trail, right? You injure an animal and it leaves a blood trail. So something like that. And then also maybe they get tired over time as they bleed out, right?
Yeah, or some kind of footstep vision that the seraph can see where the animal walked, and you can follow its path or something.
Cool, awesome. So another roadmap goal is improved trading system. So what do you not like about the current trading system with the merchants?
Ultimately, I would like that becoming a merchant would be a viable alternative to the survival experience. You could see in an overview all the traders and what they sell and what they buy, and then you could quickly check which one sells low and another one buys high, and then that's how you could make a living off. I don't know, really. Just it's something I have in the back of my mind since the last 9 years.
So you would rebalance their trading tables and make trading to be like one of the alternatives to progression system, right?
To a degree, at least. To a degree. That it would be at least offering interesting gameplay for a few thousand hours to be just becoming a traveling trader, traveling merchant yourself.
I'm actually writing my own traders right now for the Skyblock mod that I'm making. So if you want me to give you my traders and my trader ideas, I'll give you the code, okay? I think I have a pretty good progression system built out there.
Nice.
Okay, so in our last interview, you said the combat was in a good state. This was one of the most controversial things that you said in the podcast. A lot of players pushed back against it. So have you changed your mind on this? So do you still feel like combat is in a decent state?
We are considering what we can do to change it, upgrade it. I can make you an absolute gigantic announcement here for the very first time.
All right, Vintage Voices exclusive. Go ahead.
The next update will probably have iron spears.
Oh, wow. So you succumb to the pressure, huh?
I said the following. We can add iron spears if you therefore nerf the other ones that exist already. They did some tweaking. I was not fully involved in it, but that was my only requirement. That there was some balancing done on the spears. But also, that with this new project that we launched, the Project Ganesh, they will be probably working on combat quite heavily, and we might be able to benefit that. Not necessarily having the same mechanics, but be able to use the same tech, like more precise hitbox or hit detection and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think we're going to get around to the extra project in a bit, but that's good to know. I guess maybe one question that I have is the weapon variety over time going to expand as well? Because there's very few weapons right now.
We have nothing planned in particular, but nothing speaks against it.
I'm happy that you're still willing to work on it and improve it. And yeah, I think maybe the adventure mode will help you with that. And you can just, hijack their code.
We might also not be the best team to improve combat, so having a fresh team with fresh eyes might actually be very helpful.
All right, so my next question is about another disliked feature, and that's something, again, I see often on Reddit, is newer players complaining about prospecting and maybe not understanding it or not finding it fun. Have you thought about maybe making the mechanic a little bit more engaging, more intuitive, like different in any way?
I would not like to change it, but what we did actually notice is there was some very bad wording in the handbook guide for prospecting, which we fixed very recently.
So have you thought about maybe introducing like a pity system in the game for both like rocks and maybe minerals where, I don't know, maybe you can ask a trader to sell you a map that kind of points maybe to a region that might be iron rich or maybe has limestone or something to point the player to places where they could potentially find some of these minerals or metals or whatever?
We have not considered it yet, but surely would make sense for the exploration mode. Technically a bit of a challenge.
Question that I got asked by another community member, and he wanted to know, has there been any resolution with the itch.io? I don't know how to pronounce this website. Have there been any resolution with them? Did they pay you for the last 3 months or whatever?
Yes, partially. So there were 4 outstanding payments. They did not transfer 3 out of those 4.
Do you have any desire to go back to them, or are you pretty much done?
I think I'm done with each for now, yeah. Unless they can provide me with actual evidence that their support ticket system is properly being dealt with, because my belief is they're just completely swamped with support tickets. It's utterly impossible to get to them without writing a support ticket and then pinging somebody on some forum or Discord, and I'm not going to play that game anymore.
That makes sense. Yeah, I personally bought it from the website. By the way, I bought another Vintage Story copy for a camera account. So thank you. Or you're welcome, should I say? Not thank you. I don't know why I'm thanking you.
Hey.
Okay, so let's talk about growing popularity of Vintage Story. So it seems like Vintage Story has had some viral moments in the last year. A few large streamers dropped the game, including, I think, like some Latin American streamer I never heard of. There are several big-name Minecraft creators that have played it on stream and released YouTube videos. Rubik's Raptor obviously kind of exploded in the community and is like doing 500,000 per video. So do you feel like Vintage Story is finally hitting like that critical mass of recognition?
It depends what that means. What is critical mass? Definitely for some people. I don't know what is mainstream. I can't tell. But I think we would need to sell 100 times Minecraft levels. Then we will really be mainstream. It's great when lots of people play the game. It's been fascinating, yeah.
So you still feel like you're kind of an indie title, right? Is that the gist?
Yes, for sure.
So do you think you're ever going to break out of the like Minecraft like label, or do you think you're forever going to be known as like a Minecraft clone?
That's not on the player, whether they compare to Minecraft or not. I don't mind.
Due to influx of the new players, it seems like you had to improve some infrastructure stuff to be able to handle the influx of the new players. Is that true?
Yep, that was on the 120 release. Sales suddenly tripled. One server after the other went down from overload, but it's all addressed now.
Didn't you get DDoSed at some point last year, or am I making that up?
There was a disgruntled player from our public test server, TOPS. Well, not test server, but the official public server. I think he was banned. He wasn't too pleased about, and so he bought the botnet to DDoS us.
That must be a rough experience, having somebody like be so pissed off at your game that they want to DDoS you. At least now you're future-proof, right, for DDoSing.
So I guess it's a good stress test. Definitely more future-proof than before.
I guess you had like a transient spike rate of players, like when the big streamer dropped your name, like triple amount of people downloading the game or playing it. Do you find these transient spikes to be stressful, or would you wish the popularity was more linear?
The spikes are not that big. It's not like it goes up a lot and it goes down a lot. It goes up significantly and then drops very slowly. The only thing I worry is if the servers go down. Other than that, I'm fine.
Okay, so you don't find them particularly stressful?
It's a little stressful when I see the servers struggling from the load. That's all.
Speaking of server load, we have popularity of civilization videos on Minecraft and Vintage Story. And one of the complaints about the game currently can't really support that many players. And if you do have that many players, you have like excessive lag. Is that something that you'd be like, okay, I need to make this game bigger?
I would like to have that. For me personally, it's not a priority. But for that, we have our resident optimizer, Ratfast, which definitely loves doing such things. So maybe he can make a few more optimizations.
So you don't feel like the capacity of Vintage Story server right now is like too limiting, like it's fine for you?
No, it was not designed for that. We are uncompromising survival sandbox game. We're not a 200-player civilization server. That being said, though, I definitely would like to have that, but difficult.
Again, I'm a solo player, so it doesn't bother me if the server supports 200 or 300. That doesn't change my experience. Okay, so this is a question about sponsoring. Have you ever considered sponsoring a streamer or maybe like a YouTuber to make a video about the game, or are you just going to wait for it to happen organically?
Definitely consider it, but I don't see it necessary at all. The streamers should play if they enjoy Vintage Story, not if they're getting paid for it.
Have you thought about promoting anybody on your website? Would you ever consider like posting videos there, or like, hey, check out this video, check out this community member?
If anything, we could revive the community showcase if and when we get a community manager that can dedicate his time and effort into that.
So is that something that existed previously, like a community showcase?
Yes, 2 of them, I think, super long time ago, 8 years ago.
I know that sometimes you post or you add screenshots of like community creations in patch notes, right? How do you get those? Does that come from the official server or just Discord posts?
Yes, we do. It's all on the Discord screenshot channel. I just browse through what's new.
So do you have like a favorite new creator in the scene that's popped out recently?
Sarati is extremely fond of the YouTuber called Swooty. He makes a very, very immersive storytelling, voiced over, really well done.
Okay, Swooty. Swiggity Swooty, I'm coming for the booty. Okay, cool. I'm sure the answer is no, but have you considered doing a small convention for Vintage Story? Not now, but maybe like in 5 years when it becomes bigger, like VintageCon 2028 or something?
It's so much work to organize stuff like that. If anything, maybe we could make a meetup like we did once 1.5 years ago. Well, hey, you're going to be at that and that location at that time. Come say hi, maybe if anything.
And this would be like local to where you live, right? Like Latvia, I guess?
Not necessarily. Probably on the European continent still, though.
Next question is, are you still okay with fans selling their own Vintage Story merch if it's, labeled as such? The reason I'm asking is I actually have 2 designs in development and I thought about releasing those. So I'm just, running it by you one more time.
Yeah, as long as it's unmistakably marked as unofficial.
I'll send you some free samples when it comes out, okay? You just give me your size.
Okay, sure, you do so.
So in that vein, would you ever consider any other forms of monetization for Vintage Story, like when the sales start drying up? I'm sure that's probably not a consideration now, but would you consider alternatives?
I don't think we need alternatives even then, because we still have other options. Like we could make a sale, we could put the game on Steam, we could port it to consoles. There's still plenty of options by new revenue streams, even through the main game, I think. It would be nice to have a merchandise store, but not necessarily for the revenues, just that people can get Vintage Story in their physical hands.
The next one is something I think we should talk about a little bit. It's Hytale disaster, obviously. And you did the interview with a big dude, I think his name is, on YouTube. And you guys talked primarily about Hytale. And so I'm not going to try to ask similar questions, but these are some questions that I had in mind that weren't necessarily explored there or in your FAQ answers. So let me ask you some Hytale questions. In some of your posts, you suggested that you weren't that surprised by what happened. You felt like the game had a massive scope creep problem. Is that the gist of your statement?
I don't know what was going on there. Maybe a huge management overhead or something, because the amount of progress they showed off was very, very little. With each blog post, they showed so little. Like they took 6 months. There was 3 pieces of concept art in there. Like what they were doing for 6 months, something that felt quite right there. And then they also made another engine rewrite mid-development. They don't do that. Just delays the project by so much.
So in that vein, how do you avoid scope creep in your own projects?
We don't do engine rewrites. Very simple.
Do you ever shut down like ideas because it's like, that's too much scope creep, we're not doing that? Like that's, we'll focus on the core game.
All the time. My main job is just to say no all the time. Or bring up an idea that's way to elaborate, and then we need to simplify it.
Give us your take. Do you think Simon going to be able to purchase Hytale or not?
Maybe it's not 50-50. I don't know. I can't tell.
That's a good guess. So if you were handed Hytale's code base tomorrow, what would you do with Hytale if you got the code for it?
I have no idea. First of all, I would ask why would they give it to me for free? But I guess I would do the same as Simon and just release it as open source or something, or just release it to the public for everybody to look at, I'd imagine.
So originally Vintage Story only had creative mode, right? So it was like a creative builder. And then over time, you added features very slowly with each patch. Is this the plan for the early access strategy for like the adventure mode? Meaning you will release something as soon as you have it, so it's going to be a very bare bone experience? Or do you want it to build up to thresholds of releasability when you're like, okay, now you can present it to the player?
Yeah, I asked the new team about it. They would like to have at least a minimum viable product of the core gameplay loop. And I guess that is the point where we would release something. That was their opinion, yes.
Would you be willing to walk away from the project if you see it's not working out in a few years?
Most definitely, but it's extremely unlikely that would happen, I think. They are very, very good people.
Will you be potentially taking any of their assets for Vintage Story? Obviously, they're going to be modified to fit, the theme and the lore of the game.
Visual stuff would not fit for Vintage Story at all, but game code definitely shareable.
Mostly features and code features, but not so much art assets.
No, art is going to be very different.
This question kind of already answered, is that if they manage to improve the overall feel of combat, are you willing to borrow their ideas for Vintage Story? And it sounds like that answer is yes.
Yes, if it fits the Vintage Story setting.
So how much overhead do you think this project is going to add to you? Do you have to write them custom engine features, or are you willing to? Or are they going to have to work from the existing features in the game?
No, they do it for us. The programmer on the team is doing the code for us. I just provide advice. I will review the code when it's time to merge it in. Occasionally we find new help for certain aspects of the game, and we have a weekly meeting.
And I think you mentioned in the FAQ that you don't feel like this is going to be too much overhead for you. You should be able to handle it, right?
Yeah, it's going fine now. I've been more focused on Vintage Story again now. Obviously, I cannot do as much programming anymore, but I'm still working toward progress for Vintage Story itself.
I think last time I asked you if you were willing to add a manager. Are you still in that same sphere? Like you don't want a manager?
There's definitely ways I could free up more of my time through delegation of other tasks. More like a personal assistant. I would look into that.
Well, start submitting applications, I guess.
Hey, well, they need to move to Latvia, though.
Hey, you can hire me. I'll make you coffee. How about that? So this actually was one of my questions. Coffee or tea, cream or no cream, sugar or no sugar?
I have coffee with milk, coffee latte, a little sugar.
What's the latest horror flick Sarah made you watch?
None of them she made me watch, but we watched The Grudge lately again.
Gotcha. So did you sleep okay after watching it?
Thankfully, yes.
What's the scariest thing that you watched together? They just like, I should have not done that.
There was an extremely scary one. Damn it, I forgot it. It was like a woman living alone on a lakeside. Damn it, how was this movie called? That was super scary. I unfortunately don't remember the name anymore, but it was a really cool one.
Okay, lady living alone on a lakeside. I'm sure the comments will dig it up right away, so they'll tell us what it is.
She lost her husband. The husband died, and then afterwards she finds out that the husband did all kinds of horrible things and is somehow still alive or has a ghost around or something like that.
So that one messed you up a little bit.
There was some really, really scary moments that were really well done, where like a face appears where you wouldn't expect it to appear, and then it suddenly disappears. That was really well done. It left me unsettled and I couldn't sleep anymore.
Back in the days, I think I watched the American remake of The Ring, and that messed me up for months.
Oh no.
Who's the better cook in the family, you or Sergi?
Probably me.
So if that's the case, what are you making me if I'm coming for dinner?
Simple meal, lentil soup, some fried vegetables.
I like lentil soup. So would it be blended or not blended?
Oh no, it's not blended.
I make blended lentil soup or chickpea soup, and it's really good.
Ah, okay. Never tried that.
If I'm ever in Latvia, can I stop by your house to say hi?
Sure. You can also come by to our office. That's a bit closer.
Okay, I thought you guys just have a remote studio. You actually have an office space?
We got an office space now this May so that we can invite team members over here.
How many team members are local to the office? How many people show up at the office at any given time?
We only occasionally occupy it because we're also 2.5 hours away from it. 2 other people that actually could come by within the same city. It's just about once in a few months, several people fly over and then we work together in the same room.
So let's say you're programming late into the night. What's your comfort food or drink or snack when you're coding?
It's nothing specific. Sometimes it's fruits, sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's just a bread with cheese on it, a couple of nuts, energy bar, anything I can grab my hands on.
Is there any video games you're currently playing?
Just very little. I had tried a bit of Silk Song, a little bit of Nightingale. And we played some FTL again, Sarah Timi, because she absolutely loves me playing.
Did any of the new games grab your attention? You thought they were really good?
It's very rare that the game really grabs my attention.
In your interview with Big Dude, you mentioned that you liked World of Warcraft. Is that true?
Oh yeah, definitely how it was several years ago. Not that OG. I started doing the Cataclysm update. They have a really, really good lore and storytelling. So what I enjoyed the most is just go through all the quests and then read about the lore there.
What race class did you play?
Night Elf Druid. That was really fun to play with.
Okay, I feel like that's a very classic combo for newcomers, you know?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I loved that class, really.
Did you end up doing any of the raiding with like 20 players, 30 players or whatever? Or did you just mostly do questing?
I never made any raids, unfortunately. I never got into that. The forming of guilds didn't feel as social anymore at the point when I started playing because you can just press a button and it automatically searches an instance for you. So this guild forming aspect kind of was missing there. It was very different to when I played MapleStory, which is also an MMORPG. It was very, very social, much more social than WoW.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting case of like too much automation. I think modern World of Warcraft just has too much convenience and too much automation, which I think distracts from the social aspect of the game.
It's a literal conveyor belt at this point. Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Okay, cool. Oh, damn, we're on the same wavelength with that. Okay, so can you give me one tip that will make me a better vintage story player?
Read the manual. Yeah. What do you want to be better in? Depends. If you need to reduce it to one sentence, yeah, take your time.
Smell the roses, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you explore the lore locations, look at the things. They're all placed with a careful intention.
I would say I'm interested to see where the story goes and what happens, so don't disappoint me.
Me too. I would love to see that in its full glory. But the players don't let me.
They demand releases and updates and features. Have you ever watched Waterworld?
Only partially. I never watched it fully.
What's your opinion on it? Do you think it's a hidden gem or trash?
It looks very compelling, the premise.
Gotcha. Is there any like a TV show or a movie you can recommend to our viewers?
One I watched a while ago, which I absolutely love, was One Punch Man. That was so cool.
Oh yeah. I watched One Punch. That's cool. I mean, I think it's a pretty popular, anime in the modern meta. Do you like watch anime on a regular basis?
No, very, very few only. Very few ones that are on Netflix. One of them being One Punch Man. I really enjoyed that one.
I feel like pretty much everybody who was my age in US when I went to high school would have watched Dragon Ball Z and like Inuyasha, mostly because it was on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I didn't actually, no.
I think that's pretty much all I had for the questions. I probably missed some. That's okay. I do appreciate your time. This was awesome. And I want to say huge thanks to you from the community and myself. And thanks for doing this. And yeah, maybe we can make this into an annual thing. Maybe we'll speak in another year or so. I don't know.
Gladly. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you for making content for the game. So it's awesome.
One last question. Do you think Sarity will come on the podcast?
Good question. Sometimes it's just maybe a bit hard time formulating what she wants to say, if anything, I guess. But I mean, you ask her. Maybe she's interested.
I did originally, and she said that she may be a little uncomfortable. But that's why I'm asking, like, do you think that she'll be able to pull it off?
She will definitely be able to pull it off, but I don't know if she's willing. The issue is that she sometimes has a hard time putting her thoughts into words, I guess.
Don't we all, Like, it's tough.
Yeah, it's not that easy as one might think.
Okay, well, thanks for the interview, and I guess it's bedtime for you, so go to bed or decompress and go to bed, and so good night.
Thank you so much, and I'll send you the recording as well.
All good things must come to an end, just like this wonderful interview. Thank you so much for listening, and if you're still here, I love you. Please help spread the word about Vintage Voices and share it with anyone who might enjoy it. These interviews are my love letter to the community, and I would love them to reach as many people as possible. If you'd like to support the series, check out the other episodes, and don't forget to like and comment to appease the almighty algorithm gods. Now for a quick channel update. I have been working on my Skyblock mod, which I started a few weeks before this interview. It's nearly complete. Once it is finished, I'll record a new 100 days playthrough using it. Then release both the video and the mod pack on the official Vintage Story mod page, likely sometimes in the early January. Looking ahead to 2026, you can of course expect more Vintage Story content in the new year. More 100 days, more essays, more Vintage Voices, and of course the unveiling of the exclusive Vintage Story merch made by yours truly. I don't have solid plans for what comes after Skyblock just yet, but time will tell. For now, I've got a mod to finish, so on that note, Oscillascape is beaming out.